Okay, hi there guys. Can you hear me loud and clear? Or hardly hear me? Hope we're doing well. Hope we all had a fantastic weekend. Where are we? Fantastic. How are you, Bobby? G'day, Lauren. No, I'm not having coffee. I've had two today, so I'm pretty happy. I had a good sleep. I think my aim now is to try to sleep better. Shouldn't be having so much bloody coffee during the day, so we'll see if that works though. Either that or get the kids to bed a bit earlier. It's always going to help. Um, Now we'll just go through the motions. Thanks very much for joining us, guys. We've got anyone that's new, join us on Twitter at top left-hand corners at trade_setup. Facebook, you're more than welcome to join, but they're pretty much going to have the same stuff. And bottom right-hand corner, subscribe to us at YouTube. And we're going to start putting out a few more different videos. For anyone that doesn't know, I want to start covering the open in the mornings. I think, especially now with a bit of volatility around, the market can easily move between, say, 8 a.m. close or 7 a.m. close on the SPY or on our market in the US and catch a few people out, especially if it's on the downside. If they close off there, we close off on the SPY. We don't open until 10 to 10 on the SPY. The market could easily move 100 points down or up, or 150 down or up. So I think it's important just to know what we're looking at on the open, what sort of the key levels, especially on the SPY and the ASX 200, which pretty much go hand in hand, what liquidity zones are, where we could expect some sort of action reaction. So I'll be doing that in the morning. It's only about 5 to 10 minutes I aim for. But feel free to chuck in any comments if you want. What else was I going to say? Well, that's it for now. We've got some bits and pieces we're going to be adding to YouTube. I know I say that all the time, but we want to start really getting organised coming to the end of the year. When it quietens down, potentially at the end of the year, with more time to put some more things up, education-wise, market-wise, anything really. So we'll get into that. Let's get rid of. And does anyone know? For some reason, I cleaned up my computer. It was just running weird. I can't get this picture, if you can see it, to take up the full screen now. I just don't know how to do it. I deleted something and it stuffed it up. So instead of it's just coming up a bit strange. So if anyone's got any ideas on how to make that maximize it full screen, which I used to be able to do, please let me know. Now, let's just get over here. Let's take a look at the markets. Just to know, I've got some charts from this morning up. So we'll go and have a look at those first. This is the SPY we're looking at in the morning. When the market was opening, it was opening, I think, about 40 to 45 points, I think, from the close Saturday morning. And from the close at 4 o'clock on Friday. So 4 o'clock on Friday, we're looking at where the SPY finished, see what it does overnight. It was up another 45 points from that point, 4 p.m. Friday afternoon till Saturday morning close. We're expecting the market to open up a bit stronger today, and then you actually got Wall Street. So the Dow opened up stronger. You can see that little pop up here, a bit stronger. The FTSE did as well. The DAX and the S&P, and the gold actually started rolling over. It was coming about weeks. This is the first candle, I think, for the day, 8 o'clock, and that's Saturday morning's close, and that started tipping down to that 1505. So what that does on gold is bringing into play a lower high at 1516, which I would expect some more pressure to the downside. I mean, it's all up in the air, and this thing could change on a dime if the markets tip over tonight. Gold could just take off. This level is still in play at 1488, even though it's washed it out. It took out a few stops there, so there would have been stops, long stops, just under that level. It's cleaned them out, popped back up, consolidated above that level, and then started to head higher again. The problem is, it's running out of pressure from the buyers anyway at 1525, and you can see it just washed out, and it's done the reverse. So pretty much that's a key lower high, and you've got this small lower high at 1516. So to me, that could lead to a bit of a squeeze on the shorts. We could get a longer term correction. So this is only the hourly chart, don't forget. We could easily get a longer term correction. Just remember, that's what we were saying last week. A lot of fuel built up on gold futures, ETFs, all that sort of thing, built up on the long side. And sooner or later, they're going to want to take profits. And if we start to get a squeeze down, it's probably going to start to get a bit of momentum. But again, like I said, this could easily come down, retest it, it looks like it's going to squeeze and then bounce straight back off that 1488 or even 1500 even number. We could just from here squeeze down through 1505 and start to build higher lows, and we're heading back up to 1525. So at the moment, I'm a bit wary. If you're long gold, a bit wary to add anything at the moment. But just know exactly where you want to get out if you've got your stops in play. But also you can see if we go here, these are the gold stocks. We just got 9, DCN down 6.5. So gold sector's taken a bit of a pummeling at the moment, on the ASX anyway. So just bear that in mind if you're into gold at the moment. And the overall markets, you can see the SPY's holding up. Look, it did spike on the open, but that sort of first, say from 9:50 until about 5:10, between 5 past 10 and 10 past 10, the market will squeeze a certain way just to put the pressure on sellers that are probably built up, squeeze them out. And this, to me, is still coming under pressure. I thought it would break through. See this red move, this couple of green red candles down here. I thought it would break down there, but to me, that's looking like the market's a bit heavy at this moment. But it could easily, in saying all that, it could easily change if we just alter that from this low. Look, it's coming to squeeze a point of agreement where it could just break up, could break down. So we could get a rally into the close. This is a 5-minute chart. Or we could just roll over into the close. Then again, we've got Wall Street still heading high. This is an hourly chart, holding those gains from the open. FTSE didn't. The DAX it did sell off back down to the MA and start to bounce off the MA. So it's looking a bit positive, and gold's not looking too positive. So equities could be another positive night. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just not a contrarian, but I'm more skeptical of the markets overnight for the US market, so they don't open until 11:30 tonight. So their overnight sessions now, they can tend to buoy it up, keep it up. It opens positive, then slam it down. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that is a possibility. They could be hedging with some futures now. Equities open, they sell out of some equity positions because it was up 300 points or so on Friday. Sell out, away we go. So yeah, just be careful. I'm still saying be careful out there. Let's minimize that. Let's get on to the XJO. It's a daily chart. So the daily chart, it's looking negative, that big sell-off. We're under the MAs now on the daily. We did get that sell-off on, what was that, Thursday? Pretty much went sideways Friday, and we're bouncing today, which you would have expected after the Dow move. But that's still negative to me just at the moment. We'll have to see what the next few days bring us. It could easily pop back up. Anything can happen. The weekly, on the other hand, is, look, it's just sit on the MAs now. So what would be a bit of a worry is if we bounce up to, say, 66, roll over and build a lower high. Don't forget, this actually still looks positive. Some heat's come out with this last couple of weeks of this move down to 64. I'll just make that a bit thicker. Bit of heat's coming out, but don't forget that was just that pop up into the all-time high. So longer term, we're at the high up here, high over here, double high, probably reacting lower off there. May have still some downside. This move up since the end of the GFC is still up. G'day, Gino. Still moving up. That could easily just pull back, reset, up we go again through into new all-time highs. It is still, I just don't like, on the monthly too, if we're looking for swings, that's swinging, potentially a swing high. On the weekly, we'll have to see what plays out here. The daily is it's not bullish at the moment. If it sits under these MAs, it could roll over, really contract. We could just be looking a bit of contraction on the weekly, something like this, clean out a few longs and then reset and go again. Everything for me at the moment is up in the air. We've spoken about this a while ago, this rally up here into all-time highs. We're expecting that for quite a while. Popped up in the all-time highs. The key level is broken, which is around that 66 mark. You can see just through here. That was broken. We popped that, retested, and sold off again. So for the bulls, it's not looking, in the near term, not looking too great. But it's no need to go and, I wouldn't think, bail on everything just yet, because that weekly chart is still, this could be just a bounce off the MAs, or we might get something like we saw back in October. That's what I'm more concerned about, a bit of a grind higher and then boom, we get a decent sell-off. If that's the case, you'd want to be on the sidelines, I think, or shorting the market to either hedge or taking advantage of the downside. But at the moment, I'm not keen on entering longs, adding longs. I think that, to me, is bargain hunting. I would suggest we're probably, if we can get some sort of higher low on the daily, maybe reverse head and shoulders, whatever you want to say, then that could lead to some setups. But even if you wanted to go long, for what I look at, I don't see anything that interests me at the moment. I'm happy enough just to sit on the sidelines, pull out some shorts. I mean, saying that, I think APT is one we're just looking at. I don't like that. This is more consolidating sideways. But if you look at the structure, we've got a key highs up here, a key lower high around that. You can see that. Let's just mark that up. Just to show you what, even though the market's bouncing, it's up 50 today. There's a few things on Afterpay that, get rid of that. On Afterpay that doesn't look too flash. Just as an example on the short side, key level here. Let's make that a bit thinner now. Inside level, which sort of those double tops, when you got a double top like that, or we call it a retest fail, that puts pressure on the downside. And you generally expect it to attack the level, say the most recent high low. And in longer term, that's a good pullback. That's your recent high low on the longer term, and it's popped up, failed off that high, failed off this high, attacked that level, just broke through it, come up. So we're sort of looking for that to put pressure on the downside. This to be a lower high, at least target 21 or below, probably 20, and potentially this major level, structure level up here that's coming under pressure, potentially breaking through 20. In saying all that, that's what I expect. I mean, this could easily chop around. What I found interesting was, if you can see that volume, this little press up in volume has more got to do, I'll go on the large chart. You can see that was in that down move. So the volume was picked up on the downside. The next day, half decent volume as well, but it rejected the highs. So it's open, rallied up, rejected into the close, finished up, and we're up today. But you're going to expect we're going to be up today when the market's up 50 points. There's just that, bargain hunting, general buying, all that sort of stuff, reporting on Friday. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see the reports. I haven't followed it. If I think it's right, the debt's going up, the income's going down. I mean, everyone's talking about expansion to the US, but you just have to see how that goes. I don't see it's that flash. I think a lot of that's got to be factored in. It has to be factored in at the moment. Look at that run up, correction, run up, potential another correction if we can correct lower. Heat coming out of that market. Everyone's piled in to this, and if fear kicks in, reports bad, you're going to expect some downside move, pretty sharp and sudden, because there's a lot of fuel built into APT. And if you're not in, I wouldn't be looking to get in that structure at all. And if you are in, you'd be looking for a reason to lock away some gains. That's my view, but I could be wrong. So I don't know how I got sidetracked there. Let's get on to, I'm easily sidetracked. What was I talking about? The overall markets. This is what I'm just taking. So that's gold. You should have a look at Wall Street. So this is only an hourly chart, but look at that. I drew this up earlier this morning, but if I was looking for a short, I'd be looking for something like that. A lot of the times when you get this sudden sharp move up, it consolidates, and it could be just a bit of a blowout on the upside. Okay, Paul. Bit of a blowout, and it could roll over. If I was going to short it, I don't like this the way it's contracting up. You can see this, it tips over and it contracts up, another tip over. So if it tips over here in this zone, or if it blows out at the top of that zone, it comes back up, it's going to be bullish if we start all the way back up to 26, 24. So what's that? That's another 400 points. It could easily rally 400 points pretty quickly. But I'm sort of more looking for, are we going to take some heat out of this move up? Been a good move on Friday. You can see them stepping in this zone. A lot of bulls are stepping in here, buying it off the lows, and you're going to expect that too. So we had a major sell-off, a good bounce. The pressure's coming down. There's going to be those bargain hunters jumping in. So really, for me, I wouldn't be jumping short or long just yet. Shorts, I'll be looking for a lower high to play into on the hourly chart, and I want to see this uptrend broken. For longs, if you're looking to go long, you've got to be careful of washouts to the, washout of resistance and a retrace on you, but you'd have tight stops. I think this leg is quite extended. You can see by the stochastics too, the buyers have really put some pressure on, but if that's, you overextended on the buy side, last time we're overextended up here. Oh, look, well, it's going to be interesting. I don't like this is the price action. The way we've had sudden shock, sudden bounce, another shock, sudden bounce back up, sudden sell off. This has been more contained on the upside, but when it's contained on the upside, you start to get stretched. Sooner or later, buyers run out of steam, and anyone who potentially bought it here is going to take some profit. So you start going from weighted numbers to the long side to reversing to weighted numbers to the sell side. And if you get it, we're in a spot like say around here, and it starts to come under pressure, we could get a sell-off tonight. We could just get a sideways action. We could get anything, but I'm just saying that overall structure doesn't look too flash just at the moment. If the bulls are right, I don't think we finished the dance. So I think we need to build quite a big base after all that, and still the negativity around the market is still there. What's everyone's thoughts? Just on a side note, what's everyone's thoughts on Trump and what he's doing now? I know when he what did he do a few days ago when he talked about holding back on that extra 10% tariffs. Now, a lot of the market took that as a sign where he's acknowledging, and to do that over the key holiday period to help out the retailers, basically he's acknowledging that whatever he says about tariffs, they're not paying. The US is paying for the tariffs. It's simple. You import goods, you add on your tariff, the US citizens buy it, they pay more, it's done. So they're getting money not from China, they're getting money from obviously the US, their own country. So he seemed to acknowledge that when I know he's just talking it up. He talks it up with votes on Twitter. We're so good. We got so much money, da da da, from China. Where the pressure's on, but he's just he's a Twitter fanatic, and he's doing that obviously for votes for next year's elections, trying to keep the pressure on. But I think he's actually by delaying the extra 10% tariffs over that Christmas period, or over not the Christmas period, but over that holiday period, he's actually acknowledging that yeah, he's causing problems in the share market. Exactly what you're saying, Peter. He's conscious of that. He wants the US dollar lower, which you can't have I wouldn't think a weaker US dollar, and a strong share market. You start cutting rates, you sort of it means there's a slowdown. And if it's a slowdown when you're at all-time highs, you would expect selling to come into the market first before just not this euphoria of just keep rallying up into extreme levels when you're admitting with rate cuts that there's a slowdown in the global economy. ECB have just talking about rate cuts as well. That's probably why there's a bit of move higher on Friday night as well. But eventually, you're going to have to look at the flip side of the coin. Why are they cutting rates? There is a slowdown. How much ammunition have they got left? ECB, the US, even us over here. By rate cuts, we don't have that much ammunition left. And if we can't stop the slide, then there's going to be a problem. So yeah, all these things keep swirling around my head, and I don't think we've seen the end of it. If I go back let's look at a daily chart, just on the US, I still think this daily structure is a bit weak. Obviously, rally up here, we're near vertical, good pullback, consolidate. I think that took quite a while before we started building. This is really the high low we worked from. And when was that? That was in July 18, and that was in, what am I talking about? That's not July 18, that's February. Got US numbers, haven't I? February and July. So about 5 months worth of building that base, consolidating consolidating higher lows and then starting to go. So this is the first time it was a bit more contained on the way back up, retest the highs, push through, bang, big sell-off up there, back up here, sell-off here. So whether or not this is finished, I just don't see the likelihood of that finishing here and blasting through the all-time highs. And I think if we do, we're going to take out the highs by 50 points or so. But again, all we can do is sit and wait to see how it plays out. I think it's very important. Negative interest rate. I still can't figure out what that means. I mean, what does that do? What's the consequences of that? What's the consequences to everyday people? I think it's just it's trying to force them into the market, trying to force them into shares, trying to force them to use it rather than stash cash, force them into the market. Problem is in Australia, the household debt's massive. It's probably going to help you pay off that debt, but how much spare cash is around to float around to buoy the economy? I don't know. I'm not an economist. I'm just trying to make this stuff up as I go. But anyway, looking at the charts, I just don't think it's going to be settled too easy. I would suggest that this lower high at 26.4 is capped for the upside. We might chop around if we can. Boy, I think the longer we go sideways and hold up between that level and potentially say 2,500, then it's not a bad sign to go up into all-time highs. The fact that we've broken this uptrend, any sort of shock, I think is going to be quite sudden, and we're going to blast through that 2,500, potentially take out that low at 24.6 and head lower. And this is what I'd be concerned about, that sort of sudden shock down. All right, that's it for there. Send him a tweet. Yeah, we should, We should tweet him. Stop stuffing around the bar. I'm sure there's a lot of people that tweeted that. Look at the SPY. There we go. We've got some movement. So this is what we said. It's just chopping around, held up that zone, boom, up we went. So I was actually thinking about going short in here, but it didn't actually play out, which is good. Because now you can see it's actually held up. The longer it holds up that zone, breaks out to the top side. So that would have been your entry long if anyone was interested. You can see a breakthrough there with a stop just below that 5-minute candle and see where it goes to at the moment. We'd only be up only 5 to 6 points. See if we can attack those highs. So this could be the move that takes us up into this this zone around 64.32. It's not a key zone. It's just a lower high. We could run up into that liquidity and then sell down. We could be capped for today's, that day's high. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. It's actually getting a bit of a rally at the moment. What's gold doing? Gold's still looking a bit negative. Wall Street's, I should go back to our chart. There we go. It's holding up here. So there you go. Any questions? Anyone got any other views on what's happening? Bullish, bearish? Oh, that's what I was going to say. I think it's important to really take an overall view of the global markets, of what you see happening, and it can not just, and you can only really do that technical. Look at the macro environment, get an opinion, just so you know that no, not really a high probability trade on that one. It's extended, but I wouldn't be actually. This is what we talked about, Lauren. You would have been out straight away. So out at say 4 points, 5-point gain just for a scalp. But this could easily roll over. See, what I don't like about this move, it's opened up, pressed down, 1, 2. This could easily press down. It could just wash out, because if it can't go down here, if it's chopping around, it's still getting buoyed a bit. It'll flush out a few longs and then put the squeeze on. It could easily put the squeeze on the downside. So just be wary of going long up here. Yeah, no, exactly. It's a bit like a short there. This is on a 5-minute candle. So anyone, we'll talk about this later, actually. We'll talk about it another time, tomorrow morning. So it's extended up here. Market's extended. Let's just look at what the ASX is doing. Intraday. So it's not too bad. It's a bit of a flag here, but I think I would say the way we are at the moment, I wouldn't expect it. We're up 58 points at the moment in the ASX. I really wouldn't expect it to kick on. I think we'd be stretched up here for the day. I mean, we'd probably settle, maybe sell off slightly into the close, end up 45 points, 40 points up for the day, which is not bad. And then see what the US does tonight. But I'd be surprised if it would power up into the close and we have, say, near 6,500, which means we're up 70, 80 points. I'd be surprised to see that, because we could easily, market tips over tonight and then bang, everyone who got in today. I just think there's too much of a bearish sentiment around at the moment, and a lack of bullish sentiment also. Maybe not so bearish, but it could be just a lack of bullish sentiment for people to be diving in left, right, and center on expecting that we have seen the lows. When you go back to the daily chart, that's not a confirmed low at all. And you're going to run up that resistance. I know it's a while off. What do we got? 140 points away to those highs. So there's room to move, chip away, but the higher you go, the more extended you're going to be. And like I said, I just wouldn't expect us to be up towards 6,500, be extended today, be in this bearish sentiment. You always need to get people bargain hunting though, so we'll see what plays out. Now, put in some stocks, some codes. It could be anything. Might even have a quick look at Bitcoin if anyone's interested. Have a bit of a view on that. Also, let's put in some shares you want to look at. Maybe the Aussie. I don't trade the Aussie, but it's worth having a bit of a look at. Shopping around. Yeah, what I was just to finish off on that point, what I was saying about the what was I saying on the overall markets and the macro environment. WSA got out. No worries, people look at that. The macro environment. I think times like now, it's important to know what the macro environment is. I'd be surprised if anyone would argue that point. And I've heard someone say that before. What we might look at what the markets did overnight, what the US did, what all this did. I've just had a habit of doing it for the last, God, when I started as a broker in 2001, nearly 20 years now. Did take some time off of the market and then back into it. But yeah, I'd be surprised if anyone would argue that. So it's not important to know what's going on because you're just trading shares. I think that's just the wrong mentality because when things get hit, they get hit hard and fast. And if you're happy just to hold on, um, and you're, I don't know what you call it, a value investor or anything, that's great. You can do that as long as you're investing in top quality stocks. You might have to sit underwater. When I mean sit underwater, if there's a pullback, you could be sitting underwater for years. Imagine if you bought, just go back a step. Imagine if you bought stocks here. That's an uptrend. You go, well, we actually know. I knew people when see this big spike lower. We were running a fund at that stage. I was mainly doing the execution for some back in 2007. Was it here? Yeah, no, it was back here. When that dropped down, looking at this, we ended up getting cleaned out of the positions and then didn't get back in. So then for the next couple, this is a monthly chart. For the next couple of months, you're hearing from people, why aren't you getting back in? We're hitting all new all-time highs, da 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 da. And you go, yeah, it just doesn't look great. It's not worth building up a portfolio again, building into positions because we actually think it's bearish. Doesn't look that great. It's getting extended. It's due for a correction. We probably, in hindsight, you probably got lucky that it was a GFC come and blew through the market. But imagine if those people that were talking to us, wanting us to get back in, they left and went somewhere else. And they got into the market. We knew a few that actually did buy into the market. Now, if you had that same mentality built up like you just buy and hold, what if you're buying up here and you only really, depending on what stock you bought, I'm not saying because it's up here on the ASX that you're finally back to break even. You could have bought anything. But there would have been some stocks that have been above that level maybe here. But does anyone really want to hold it for the next few years? You get this massive sell-off. What if we get something like this now? We sell off for about a year and a half. Look at the highs around November, lows around March 09. So a year and 4, 5, 6 months, year and a half. If you have to hold a position against you, if you're just going to go put it away, leave it, if that's what you do, fine. But then it's just remember it can take years to come back. You could get lucky. It takes a few months, but I wouldn't expect that after that kind of sell-off. So I'm saying that I'm always inclined to know where your risk is and either get out, call it a day, or just let your stops work for you. Take the hit. Especially, it just depends on what this market's going to do. But I'm not a big fan of just set and forget and leave it. I think everything when the markets come under fire, everything can just get sold off quite hard. And that's why I'm just watching this zone very carefully to see what happens. Is this going to be a hard sell-off? Are we going to bounce? What are we going to do here? If we start holding here, excuse me, on the weekly, we start popping up, pulling back, building a higher low, that would suggest that we're going to take out the highs. But until that happens, I'm not bullish on that. And I'm just watching this latest action. Where's it heading? So I think whoever was saying that, don't look at the macro environment. I think it's very important to look at the macro environment, and that the GFC has proven that. You've got to know why is this getting smashed for? This is not your usual pullback. Back here after some sort of Asian crisis. Okay, Asian crisis, does that affect us? Maybe not. Okay, maybe we should have been back in the market then, jumping back in or buying on that, that massive pullback, looking at that, going, oh, maybe I should have bought that. But when things change, you've got this big sell-off, you come all the way back down again. You've got to know why. You have to know why, and you have to know what you're going to do. That's a complete change in dynamics. When dynamics with buyers go from you're buying through fundamentals, you're buying through technicals, changing to, after this bull run from early 2003 all the way up to late 2007, what's that, 5, or 5 years bull run, when that dynamics has changed, you've got this sharp sell-off over a couple of months, you've got to question that, and you've got to realize what's changed, because it's no longer fundamentals, it's no longer technical, it's purely just fear. It drives that market lower, and that's what was news driven. It just, people got smashed left, right, and center, and you don't want to be one of those people. You want to know where your risk is, and that's why I'm always keen on talking about it now, because potentially, with all the bears out there talking it up, it's probably the most well-known pullback we're due to have, or we're having. You've got to know where your risk is on that. That's corrected. Okay, are we just going to correct this uptrend, build a higher low, then go again, or are we just going to get smashed? And you've got to be prepared for what scenarios. You've got to be prepared to get out. You've got to be prepared to get back in. That's my view anyway. Otherwise, if you're prepared, just hold it, and it turns into a GFC, then you're going to have some problems on your hand, or you're going to be down quite a bit, and trying to claw your way back from that, it's hard work, really hard work. God, I got ranting again there, guys. Sorry about that. What's everyone's view on that anyway? I know we've talked about before, a lot of people in cash. Actually don't. I'm saying that today's action, this sort of action is not too bad. It's probably a bit different to what we saw in, drill down on that here. This was more sell-off, then we started holding higher levels from there, but this one we've sold off, taken out the lows. So it'd be interesting to see whether we just do something like this, banging down, and some volatility comes into the market, or whether we sort of grind sideways. We might grind sideways from here, but it's been quite a sharp little. I just think there's yeah, there's some fear out there at the moment, which could easily drive the markets just really sell it down hard. No matching leg down. What are we talking about there? Could you possibly expand on that, Helen? Previously, is that what you're saying? Yeah, I'll wait for that from the highs, yeah. 68. Yeah, there's not. All right, let's rip into it. Price report today, RRL. What are they doing? SAR, mean, yep. Yeah, well, that's true. Let's go back to the ASX. More days down the way. I expected to sort of chop around here, hold up above this level. This was a low of 66,444. I expected it to hold, maybe chop around, and then another big sell-off, but instead we sort of chopped around up here and then boom, down, took it out sideways, and we're back up today. It's something definitely to keep an eye on. Bulls aren't in control yet, and the sellers, we've got the weekly, could just sit around here, clean out a few of the bears, and then bounce. We could be at the start of this move, or we could be something like this, sitting on top of the MAs right now, chop around for a sideways, hold up, and then up we go again on the weekly charts anyway. But we will see. Let's go over to, what was the first one to look at? Who was in first? ALK, WSA, wasn't it? What happened then? All right. The weekly stretched up at this sort of resistance zone around 260 on the daily too. So I'd say that you got a bit of a supply zone around that 260, and it has worked up. We'll just go back to the weekly. Some volumes come in on this little move up, probably the best volume for a while, and on this move up here you can see as well, had some good volume pick up. Volume easing off on the pullback. You can see ease down, started picking up again when we rallied. So there is a case to say supporting volume, we could be ploughing through 260 soon. Or just go back to the weekly, and there's a key support zone. It's quite clear. Say one step back. Key support zone, yeah, at about just under $2. What I would like to see, because I'm not interested in longs just yet, I would be preferring to see, just say this is your support zone through here. You've got high up here, sold off, had to take what we're saying, a bigger run up. So the market's come down into that zone, pressed up, okay, come back down, we're looking to break it, couldn't break it. Buyers stepping in here, stepped in again here. Okay, it's a deeper correction on the downside of this move down. Took out this high, didn't come into pressure not far above that, and we come screaming down again. Buyers soaked it up again. So not bad that we've got this lower high and we've pressed down. You can see that sort of angle of descent a lot sharper here than it was this little angle of descent there. So it looks like potentially the selling's come out of the action, and we could be getting to, buyers have been stepping in at just above, say, 180 to $2 for quite a while now, and that's a key zone. It's like line in the sand that's going to support higher levels. The first sort of reaction zone is, around that 250 to 60 area on the weekly. We're coming into that now, so I wouldn't be buying it just here. What I'd prefer to see is a bit of a pop through. I would like to see a pop through and then two-legged move down, mainly on the weekly, and then I'll be looking for a higher low and then going down to your daily chart just to look for your entry setup. And just some heat to come out of this move, but I would like to see, ideally come from overbought up here, some selling pressure come in, the lower the better, but price holding up above, say, 210, maybe around 230. So I'd ideally like to see the selling pressure come in like we've seen there, but the price not to go with it, not to go from highs to lows, for resistance to support. I'd rather see why that's coming down, well, this action, stochastics to come down, the selling pressure to really push down, but see evidence of getting soaked up. I want to see the evidence that buyers are soaking it up on those pullbacks, and then really I'm just tipping into a daily chart to see how it plays out. Maybe it could retest 235. That's a little higher low in here on the daily chart anyway. But again, it's just up. It could be getting a bit extended up into that resistance, so you may need just the weekly to kick in. Look at the volume. Volume really picked up on Friday, pushed up into the highs, got rejected. So it's not a good sign for continuation through. If it does pop through, then you look for your first pullback potential on your daily. If this pops through and finishes above, say, 260 today, then the next few days I'd like to see some sort of heat come out, sit on the MAs and then buy. And you can just sit on the MAs, buy off the MAs like here, like this type of move, probably that sort of move. That's what you'll be looking for going forward. Next one, ALK. What did I say on this one? Was I saying anything impressive or not? Doesn't look so good at this stage. That's probably today. Today's action I don't like. Down 4.8%. Not massive volume. I think that's the fact that it got a bit extended, got a bit ahead of itself, and this will pop up. And in the overall market environment, it's a tough one. It's a tough when you sort of see that. You're getting up. That's good price action. I don't mind that price action at all. It's just you want to see if it lifting, what we saw here, a couple of good days of volume, but then that green day, good volume, next day got smashed on roughly the same volume. So it's like everyone that got in that on the 9th got out on the 10th, the 12th. What's the deal there? Okay, so that was a Friday and then got out the Monday. We had a volatile week last week, so this could be extended a bit too much on the downside. Key levels are around this low. If it gets through that low, I'll be reassessing. I'd be looking for bigger contraction. At the moment, I'll just be wanting to see. I wouldn't mind seeing. Why is it not? Where is it? Here we go. I'll be wanting to see. I'd have to see this level hold up here. I was thinking more of that, as the action pulling back, but I didn't want to. I wanted to see it basically sit on the MAs and then maybe some minor contraction, then go. Instead, we just broken down. So that today's action is a little bit negative, very bearish for me. Not on big volume, of course. It's just that, like a lot of stocks, they can look great, but there's just no one willing to buy it into highs. They just don't want it. They want a bar of it until we start to work out what's happening in the global environment. What happens with the US? What happens with China and the US? What happens with Euro? They're slowing down. So it's just hard. The structure back here, fine. There's buyers willing to lift it up, fine. But at the moment, it just looks like there's no one. And this was what happened to us. A lot of our alerts recently gone on great, kicked off, and then stopped, turned around and stopped us out. It's just because once it kicks off, there's no follow through volume willing to support a move up. It's just they sit around, they get extended, then sooner or later people just get bored. Whoever bought it, get out, and it comes back down again. That could be the case here. Looked great, bought it up, failed to get up to this high, starting to come down. This could easily just go straight down, break through this low at 34, was that 7, 6? Lows, take it out, deeper correction, potentially looking down towards 30, rebound off 30, but then, if you buy it here, you're going to get under a fair bit of heat. So yeah, I'll be just sitting watching that. I'd want to see that hold up here if this got this sudden move down, and that's our support zone around 30, what's it, 37. I'll see a sudden move up, maybe a bit of contraction here, but holding higher levels, maybe retesting those highs, whether it's what do you call it, that sort of action or that sort of action, I want to see bouncing around between, coming to a point of agreement, but looking weighted to the upside, but holding up above 37. That's ideally what I'd love to see. Then potentially jump in. I out in at 40 the other day. Okay, if you're in this, Gina, at the moment, where's your stop? I've got a tight stop. Yeah, fine. If you've got a tight stop, all you can do is look, you're doing the right thing. You're in, checking it out. Just didn't get it right this time. So yeah, it is a decent correction, isn't it? Without reading it, what did it say? Record profit as production rises and costs fall. Price of gold's rising, so they can value it at higher levels, can't they? Gold's going to take off. I just think, yeah, is it buy the rumor, sell the fact in SAR? 39. Cool. Yeah, 39. Is that right? Did I go too far? Yeah, okay. Oh, so it's half a cent. Ooh. I would ideally low 37. Yeah, that tight stop. Look, it takes out this low, so you've got this little pop up pullback. So essentially, that's a higher low. Mine a higher low at 39.5 right now, right here. It's testing it. What's the low today? 39. So if it breaks through that, probably expect it to push through 37.5 anyway. Alrighty. So SAR, yeah, not looking good. I'm just going to look at the other goldies here. Yeah, look, that's potentially going to sit on the MAs. That's date. I don't know how to say that. DCN, Goldie, SAR, moving down, maybe correcting. Let's look at the weekly. Good move. It's just maybe just a bit of heat coming out there. If it can hold up around here, it could go again. That's not the best. I wouldn't go into that at the moment. Just closing the gap, it could head south. If it can hold a higher level on DCN, it could be a goer. Don't know what drove that down. Santa Barbara, again, that doesn't look too flash. Up against the highs here. It could easily just keep rallying. Great. I don't think that's the best one to pick for a goalie. Northern Star, like that, except similar type of thing. You got a lower high to contend with here. It's got to hold up around 1175 and start to lift if you're bullish. But that weekly could be a bit more heat to come out. 1150 down to 1150, another 40 cents or so. We'll see. Oz Minerals, that to me is more sideways action than anything else. So you get the bullish action from gold and then it's sold into. Had a good little run, sold into. So that's on your weeklies anyway. It's getting knocked about on the downside a bit too hard for me. I wouldn't get into that. AQG, Lacia Gold, that's a smallie, is it? Half a billion market cap. That actually doesn't look too bad, just glancing at that. well and truly extending the daily. So if you've got the kahunas to jump in here, I don't know what you'd be expecting if it's to take out this high at 655, especially in the way gold's acting at the moment. Gold's sort of heading south. I would be just, if I'm long that, I'd have me stop pretty close. Lower 609, I'd probably put it around 605, thereabouts. Have it, or $6 even. You know, if you're long this, especially if you're long from anywhere in here, if you're long from up here, I'd want to have it pretty tight. Because if gold tips over, this thing could come screaming back to $5 quickly. EVN, same sort of thing with Evolution. Gore, same thing. Newcrest, you know, all very similar things. Good right up in the back of gold. Perseus, same. SLRs is correcting quite hard. That extra run up we had on gold didn't phase this at all. It's still heading south. So going long, this wouldn't go near it at the moment. You're just bargain hunting if you're jumping in long at the moment, but we'll see. BGL, any rally it's having today is getting knocked about as well. That's been a struggle. Even when the gold was rallying, it was a struggle. So I don't like that one. And RMS, I wouldn't go near that just at the moment either. I'm just bitter that I missed out on that move, that's all. All right. What do we got next? I checked it on the low score today and reduced AEST. I think I should have waited. Yeah, there you go. EAR. The problem with it was good. Look at that rejection today. Lower 22, bang straight back up. But it's only 162 million. It could easily be bullied this. There's not much on the. Oh, look, there's a bit on there. Not a lot on the offer. Bit on the bid. It's stacking up at 26 and a half. Anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, you can see that this big stack at 26 and a half. So whether that's legit or not, or they're just trying to cap the movement, we'll see. Or whether it could just be, you know, people just stacking in an offer there. Hopefully it takes it out, booking their profit, away you go. But either way, yeah, look at this weekly. It's bounced off this level 10. It went on quite quick, and a deep correction. I don't like deep corrections. If it's strength, it should be holding. This really, rather than selling off in March, should have held up above the MAs and grind, and then grind sideways. I'd rather a correction sideways than down. Sideways is a show of strength, and that would have expected a target up towards these highs again. But instead, deep correction. Okay, that's a higher low. Straight back on the top side of the MAs. To me, that's more whippy price action on the weekly than anything else, which suggests that we're going to react off these highs. But we'll see. And it is the last few days it has reacted off those highs. But whether or not, okay, this is a good level, buy off the MAs, but buy on a setup. Even if it's something like this, a couple of side days action, buy at the top side. You know where your risk is. But here, if you buy here, there's nowhere really to put your risk. There's no obvious level where buyers are stepping in. Whereas back here, a break through that high of 20 and a half, so you bought at 21, 21 and a half, you know your stop's going to be below 19, for example. Tight risk. You know where it is. It's went sideways, good move up, pullback, consolidation at the highs, consolidation above your MAs, good sign. This is different. I mean, if we consolidate here, great. It could lead to a move out through the highs at 26 and a half. The fact that we have this green candle straight up to the highs, next few days have been off, suggesting there's a bit of selling up there, but we'll see. Yeah, so again, I'd just be looking for at least this or a higher low to play out. Even if it's a couple of days candles, bit of a higher low there. APT, what's happening there? I think when I sent out the alert, it was at near 24.10, sort of hovering above that 24 mark. Hard to get a short on this thing to sell off when it's a positive market, 50 points up. Excuse me. What was the next one? Yeah, EDE. EDE, not bad. See that little green candle. It's a good sign. If we can hold above that, that's essentially, you're pulling back. You reacted up. Potentially, you could be a buy through 55.5 cents, and your stop's below. That's a big stop to have on such a small stock, but that to me is looking quite positive. What's the weekly? potentially the weekly's holding up at the MAs, it's consolidating at a higher level than say 2-3 cents. And especially if that weekly punches out through these highs, it's probably going to attack the next highs at above 12. Is it 13 cents? Excuse me. Yeah, if this daily can just hold up here and start to lift, it could be worth something like this would be ideal. Love that little setup. So you've got a pop up, pull back to the MAs, another pop up. Didn't get up to that high, but then consolidated. Essentially, it's a higher low in here above 4 cents. Take it through that high at 4.4. Your risk is just below, and look what happened. So that's what we call an inside higher low. And I think inside higher lows is a really good sign. As soon as they break out, you can expect that to take out the highs at, what was that, 4.9, which it did. It just blasted through in one day. So that's always a good sign when you see that type of setup. I'll draw it up for, let me delete that. Just go and I'll open it back up and just draw up what I'm talking about. As a side note, go away. As a side note, so you've got a trend that's up. Okay, and that's a key higher low here. Trend is up. You get this pullback. So it can be deeper, it could be a 50%, whatever. Then it starts to lift. At this stage, you're just thinking it's going to be the same there. But what it could easily do is pop up. It pulls back again. So this, people just anticipate. And people are always going to anticipate it's going to be a lower height. Let's just make it a bit smaller. They're going to anticipate lower height. I'll just sell. Then when you get buyers stepping in, higher level here, it's confirmation for me as soon as it breaks out this level. And it's strong confirmation that is a higher low. And it's just need to squeeze out a few more traders. Maybe it's, yeah, got a good trend up here. It needs to squeeze out a few more. But this sort of thing, I love seeing that. Inside higher low, we're talking here as soon as it breaks through that high. And I think that's a high probability setup that we're generally going to go straight through that high, whether we have a little pullback and then go, or whether we, push up to the high, pull back and then go. But 9 times out of 10, well, I'd like to think 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 to be on the safe side. That key higher low, we're talking here, is a good sign inside this level, this move up, inside this low. You get this step up, buyers stepping up. They didn't buy it here. They saw it pop up. They got lucky. It's pulled back. They're buying it at a higher level, adding to a position, whatever. And then it starts to lift again. That's a good sign that you're going to go straight through the previous high. So I like seeing that, and that's what you got. If anyone can see just in here, great. So back to the story. If we can potentially get up through that high, I think we've got a nice higher low here, and we'll see if that can kick on. And a very small scale, it could be an inside higher low. So it could be actually running up to ready to trade through. And if it gets through 7, that's your weekly higher low confirmed as well. Don't forget, weekly high low, that could easily lead to push up through 10. So I've had EDE been watching that for a while. You have to keep me up to date there. Thank you. This one, don't like the rejection there as such. Don't know why, what happened. Is there any news on that? Especially on volume. Never a good sign to see the volume come in, but it gets smacked back down. So it's a key, obvious breakout through that high, through 80 cents. Pretty obvious. Open, breakthrough. So you get the breakout traders. In we go. We know where our risk is. Basically below this red candle here, or potentially below here. You know where your risk is. I don't like to see that. If it retraces, and I've been caught a lot of times, it retraces straight back down again to where you got in at 80 cents. Where did it finish? Close 80 cents. So your breakout was probably above 80. You're down 1 cent or 2 cents maybe on the day. Big breakout, good volume to support, and it retraces. I don't like that sort of thing. And you can see the next day it's opened down. It's lifting again. Today is a bit indecisive again, around 80. So if this thing starts pulling down and gets through the low at 72.5, I'll be more bearish on this than anything else. I'll be looking for a breakthrough 60 potentially. It is in an uptrend now. That's the thing. It could chop around here, chop, 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 and then off she goes again. So it just depends how committed the buyers and sellers are, really. But yeah, I just don't like being caught a few times by that. Comes out, and then before you know it, you've been turned around and stopped out, which gives anyone the year it's CXZ. That's not bad. See the move up, pull back to the MA, sitting there, good few days, consolidating around a 1.8, 1.92. Nice small stock though, so you'd have the cojones to trade it. Not much in the offer, some good stacked up on the bid. Not much ahead of it on the offer, so to me, it's bullish. everything's in play. You know, good volume on that spike, pull back, volume coming out, holding up. You know, a bit of volume come in a couple of days ago. Well, was that Thursday? And that was a positive day on the ASX, don't forget. Sitting on the MAs here, which is good. So if we start to lift and it gets some volume with it, okay, we'd expect to go through 2.1 up trading up towards the highs at 2.7. If it was a bullish market, this thing could, like overall market, like we had 6 months to a year ago, well, just recently, really, that thing could easily kick on really strong. But just think things could potentially be capped, and a good stock like this, good setups, could easily be capped in a really macro environment that's really struggling. So that's the overall concern. M70 held. What else we got? TLS. TLS. I looked at this the other day. I don't like what it did on Friday. It just shows that bang down. Very heavy downside. This, we were shorting this down here quite a bit. I think we had a few goes at it. Made some, got out, went again, somewhere in here, I think. Went again, wrote it down, took it off, went a bit lower. Then it started getting void. So I think we had another sell alert that which didn't trigger. Somewhere in here, thought it could go through. Instead, it bounced back up. Okay, you built your higher low in here as opposed to this low at about 260. What was the high low? It wasn't much higher. 271, 11 cents. Started lifting it, sitting on top of the MAs on a weekly now. Okay, that's all good. But so what you'd want to do if you're thinking it's getting a bit ahead of itself, you just drop into the daily to see what's happening. See the big sell-off here. Is that attributable just to the overall market and just general fear driven people out of this stock? Or is there another reason where, okay, fear coupled with something else, you know, the fundamentals, is it triggering it lower? So that's all we're trying to view. And I don't think that move on Friday was really, I mean, Thursday was a big move down the ASX. It held up okay. Friday, this thing got smacked. Was any news out on Friday? Maybe the results, was it? Yeah, maybe the results. I don't know what I'm viewing asset monetization. Maybe people just buy the rumor, sell the fact. Got smacked down on Friday. Excuse me. Washed out the low at 370. So if this thing pops up and you go sort of from here over, we get a bit overcooked here, we bounce back up and we get sort of overbought. It doesn't have to be right up, but it starts to look like it's running out of steam at a lower price. Yeah, this thing could be a sell because it has, if that's the case, it's cleaned out the longs. If you're thinking it's a washout, it's going to pop back, build a higher low. You would expect. So this is the way I'd be looking at it. Let's just go back, take all this rubbish off. So what I'd be looking at, let me just draw this action. So the move up, which is essentially this move, it's gapped down, come back down here, pop back up. Let's come back down to, just say that's our support zone. And it is just popped back up, just above it now. Let me just draw the support in and all that sort of stuff. So if that's our support zone now, we're just finishing above it. Now, what I'd like to see here, if this is going to be a washout, because it's all about this level here. It has popped through, we can't deny that. And that's going to trigger, right or wrongly, overextended or not, it's triggered some stops because stops are hard and fast. They'll be hard and fast below that 370. It doesn't, just because it didn't finish below that, it doesn't mean that there hasn't been some trigger. And just on a side note, I know a lot of people say if it hasn't finished below the level, if it finishes above the level, it's a different to actually pushing down and bouncing back up. No, because I'm a believer if you've got stops in place and people do use stops, they put it below the level and they leave them there. So that's triggered some stops, it's bounced back up. So what you'd be analyzing that, thinking, let's just draw a green. If I want to be bullish, I don't really want it to kick on too much. I want to see it come back down, retest and hold up. Honestly, hold up that level. So that to me is a sign that, you know, you've got this little setup here is a sign that that is a key level at 370 and there's buyers willing to step in and ramp it up. And there's some sellers coming in there's some sellers that has bounced back. It's back above 370, which is the support zone. It's back above. Sellers are coming in, but they're getting equal and opposite, and probably more buyers buying strength. So sellers that are getting nervous, they saw this move through 370, they want out, they're jumping out, but then it's not going back through the level that's getting bought up. So that's a good sign of strength, and you'd rather see that without it going too much higher, say above 380, chop around here and then start to lift. Then you'd expect it to attack the highs. All right. The secondary, what I wouldn't want to see if I want to be bullish, be more inclined to see is it lift off here sharply. That just means that, okay, the bears are in, it's popped back up, and then see them start to come in. Because if you want to get out and you've taken some off the table here and you want to get out, I think the pros won't just go, I'm bailing here, out we go. They would expect some sort of bounce and then wait to see. So there's no heavy selling coming in just yet. I would expect to see it sort of pop up and then maybe the reverse of this action, but at a higher level. So I think the difference in this, and this is really just the levels we're at. We're holding around 375, 380. You get this. Okay, I'm a bit more bullish, and at least you got narrow, you got small, tight stop. You've got, it could be 2-to-1 when it pushes back up to the highs at 4, and then if it goes through 4, good, you're on the right side. If it doesn't, you could take some off at a small profit, reanalyze it. Maybe it doesn't look good, you get out. But when it's up here and you get this type of action, I think it's built to squeeze. Buyers will chase it, see this, and they will chase it. But the problem is they're up further towards that resistance zone where it could easily, you don't really have a 2-to-1 if you're going to hold it below the most recent high or low, which is down sort of towards 370, buying it at 390, 10 cents profit potentially for what, 25%, 25 cent loss. So I don't like that sort of action. I'll be more inclined to think that is going to be a sell then. And that's what I'd probably be looking for, Laura. Especially if we start lifting from here into the announcement, crappy announcement, boom, down we go. We'll see. I wouldn't short it just here. I'd rather short it off a lower high and confirmation this is a double top. We've just broken because this is really an anchor. We pushed up, pull back, anchor level to the uptrend, touched on the highs at 4, washed it out that level, and we washed out another level. Not really good. We push up, build a lower high, and with some supporting volume for the day. Yeah, I'd be probably looking at that as a potential low. I'm sorry, as a potential sell. Let's just look at one other thing. I think I need to do this, which could be a supporting, where that support comes in. See that? So that, quite handy, isn't it? Touched on there, washed out that. So it could be a washout, but I think we need a bit more evidence either way, whether we should buy or sell. Wouldn't buy here, wouldn't sell either. Wanting to see what the next few days brings us. But yeah, just remember, this is still an uptrend. Broken the anchor, which is your first sort of signs, so you'd be looking for a lower high. But the fact that we didn't get to there, it could easily be a washout too, and this is holding up. So flip of a coin really at the moment. Do you think, based on current information, do you reckon the market will run out of steam in the next 1 or 2 months? Yeah, I'm expecting more downside. I mean, the weekly holding up here, I'm expecting more downside. We could just chop around here, be capped at 66. We could even push through 66, but as long as we don't get up right up to 69, I think I'm expecting more downside. I don't think enough heat's come out, especially out of the US. And if heat comes out of the US quickly, we're going to go down. So yeah, I'm not, and put it this way, I'm not at all off that price action on the daily or the weekly, willing to, especially the fact that we've broken this trend up from December, we've broken that. So whether we consolidate sideways, I don't know what we're going to do, but I don't think that little pullback, and really it is just a little pullback, considering the overall market fears, Hong Kong, all these sorts of things, that especially that we have broken down a bit, that adds to the fear as well. Are we going to break down more? So the bears could come out, and it's going to take, rather than the fears out, before we had this sell-off, before we broke down through 66, the fears out here, that's different because it can easily be proven wrong and the weighted numbers in the upside. The fact that we've now broken down, we've got a lower high in play. I think a lot of people would be now sitting there going, I'm either out or I'm going to get out and reassess from the sidelines and see if this thing does come back more. But it's just where to. is my view. I don't know. We could chop around here. The longer we chop around up here and go sideways without, not really, keep referring to this action, not really doing that. Higher lows, high highs, minor high lows, minor high lows. Sorry, what am I talking about? Minor higher lows and minor higher highs in here. If you look at the daily, I was thinking that up. That's not it. I went straight past it, didn't I? Where is it? Oh, here it is. So what I'm looking at, this here, sell off, higher lows, higher highs, and every time it sort of popped up, it got sold down a bit, sold down here. That to me is very bearish. We went to the MAs, down we go. We're just going to check out whether we do that or whether, current markets, I don't like the way it's sort of straight down on Friday. That just shows a bit of fear into me, a bit of fear after here. We're looking for something. Maybe like it is, it's the best known pullback, or most well known, biggest expected pullback that we've had in a long time. So yeah, I'm expecting more bearish action, so at least to chop around for a while, which I'm not going to get long. I don't want to get long here. It's going to be something screaming by for me. That's already corrected quite a bit. The individual stocks come down through there and it's starting to build. So it could potentially, if we don't, if it starts to look like it's getting supported, the ASX at higher levels, and you've got a stock that's showing a higher low off a decent correction, then yeah, I'd be willing to jump in. But at the moment, I'm just not finding anything yet. But we'll see. All right, guys, I better call it a day there. Out of 10. So thanks very much for joining me. I hope that was insightful. If you like it, if you do, it'd be great if you could leave us a like. If not, don't leave us a dislike. That'd be appreciated too. Any questions, feel free to send us an email to support@tradesetup.com.au. Anything you want to look at next week, whack it in an email too. We'll take a look at it. Otherwise, have a good week, good trading week. Again, like I said, we'll be back in. I'll be having a quick chat if I can each morning, just prior to market open, especially now. Probably be good for intraday, but it might be just worthwhile, watching later, see how it all goes, how the open goes, whether we get right or wrong, and then just following it from there. But thanks for joining me. We'll speak to you, if not tomorrow, next week. Cheers, guys. Bye.